Hello, Patrick. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for meeting me and welcoming me to your show.
You're always welcome. You're always welcome. Since from we started our initial talks, I was very excited to have you on the show. And before we go more deeper into the show, Patrick, do you have a favorite quote, something that motivates you, inspires you, you would like to share with our audience?
I do. I actually have a motto that's noted on my social media and my website, and the motto is in Latin, and it goes "Per aspera ad astra," which translated to English means "through hardships to the stars." And
Mm,
the reason that motto or that saying resonates with me a lot is because I've been through a lot in my life. Your audience may have the opportunity to read more about me online on my site, but I've been through multiple journeys and experiences in life, including great challenges through my childhood as I was born in the Middle East, raised in Europe, North America, came back to Switzerland. Um, all those hardships enabled me and empowered me to learn multiple things to be successful in life. And it gave me motivation to look up to the stars
mhm.
and aim for higher goals and objectives. So that's my quote.
Indeed, and that's why we like you to be on the show and share your experiences. Um, I heard this saying from one of the guests on the show, I guess, or it was on one of the podcasts I've been to, where we were discussing something, and then one of the person on the show said, "You don't learn anything from your success because once you have it, there's nothing much you could do with it. What you learn is from your failures, the journey you had to reach to that success. But the problem is nobody wants to hear about your failures. Everybody wants to hear about your success. So success actually doesn't teach you anything, but everybody wants to actually hear about success, isn't it?
I fully agree with you. That's 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Great. So, Patrick, moving
Yeah.
forward then, imagine you are in a room with me with full of founders. There are hundreds of founders in the room. You've got the mic, you got the stage, and no one actually knows you. No one actually knows your name. No one knows what you do, what you've went through. But your job is to keep them in the room for the remaining 1 hour. What would you say on the stage? What would you share with the founders that what are the top three things they will learn being with us for the rest of the hour? And then how would you start and finish that story?
Excellent question. I think the top three things that I would focus on would be as follows. Number one is the creation of an idea, how
Mm,
to find one, how to discover one that will actually make an impact in the world and make a difference, and eventually, as a founder and CEO, make you money. So there's a journey that I can share on how to achieve that goal in your day to day life, how to discover things. The second thing is a business plan.
hmm
I cannot emphasize this more. I'm actually studying at IMD currently, which is a business school here in Switzerland, to further strengthen my educational background because I studied computer science in university and I want to combine that with business knowledge and education. But I learned through all the companies that I've put in place that a concrete business plan gives you a very strong foundation to springboard off of to build a successful company. So that's one thing I want to share my experience with the audience, how important and critical a business plan is. And then the third and last thing is marketing and market research. So there are so many ways these days to do marketing through social media, through advertising. I mean, you could go out on the street and buy a billboard and put up an ad and so forth. Um, But I went through multiple journeys on learning how to market online and offline. And I went through an experience with another company that allowed me to talk to their CEO directly on how he enabled the success of his company through online marketing. He has a multi-million dollar company now in the UK. And he shared a lot of learnings with me that helped scale my ability to market and find my audience who would actually buy my service and product.
Mm.
I think those are the three things: ideation, business plan, and marketing.
Indeed, and I think that covers quite a big landscape of a founder's journey, to be honest, because these are the three things which is kind of like well, kind of like a primary pillars of building a business, anyways. And there are other things which we could discuss once these three things are clarified. But I think we need to start with the idea. So let's jump into it then, Patrick. How should you, or what are the tactics or strategies you should be following in order to actually understand or gain this insight in your mind, or that epiphany? Oh, this is the perfect idea for me. What do a founder needs to do in order to get into that mindset?
I think you need to look back and take advantage of your career experience and your education as a starting ground. Because I learned in life at a very early age that if you want to do anything, there's a saying: how you do anything is how you do everything. So education and educating yourself about something first, and going through the journey of using that education through your career, through contracting, through work, uh, builds the knowledge and expertise and the experience you need to be able to look back and say, I know this well enough to understand what people need, and how they can use it in their day-to-day life. So this is one of the most important things that I learned in my journey as a founder and CEO is, I took the time to sit there for a moment and said, okay, well, what am I good at? And the fact is, bottom line, I've been in tech for 25 years. I started as a developer, a coder, moved up to an architect, a project program manager. I worked with multiple technologies. I did IT infrastructure, ERP systems, websites, e-commerce, you name it. I've pretty much touched almost a lot of domains, including AI recently.
Hmm.
So that's the starting point that I would recommend for everybody, is to look back and say, and look at yourself internally and say, well, what do I have knowledge and education in that I can scale on? And if I don't have it, then I'll look in a different domain. What do I need to do to educate myself? Enable that education through working or other areas in order to really understand it before you can develop an idea. So I would say that's one of the key starting points, Ash, too.
How about the founders who our young generation recently got out of university, for example, recent software engineer graduate, or somebody who has done their masters of business administration? They do not want to follow the traditional route of getting a job into a multinational company or even a small startup. They want to start something of their own. Maybe that's what their passion is. How do they go forward and find out what how do they figure out a genuine idea to solve a problem?
Yeah, I would say, again, I think what I said earlier is leverage what you've been through. So they've been through education, training, perhaps apprenticeship, uh, and they have their university and their colleagues and their professors that they could leverage. So the reason I bring that up is because in Switzerland, the university here in Zurich, ETH, is very specialized in engineering and computer science, including other fields, but they have a bit of a mechanism and a toolbox for people that just came out of university to leverage what is an ETH that's partnered with venture enabling and venture capital companies here in Switzerland to springboard and build ideas and turn them into businesses. So people fresh out of university and or college in Switzerland, they have that ability. And how do they do it exactly for other countries that may not have that is they do partner with their professors, with their colleagues at school, to start workshops, to have workshops, to have brainstorming sessions, to come up with ideas. And once you have those ideas in place, you can approach those business startup incubators that are partnered with universities, venture capital investors, angel investors, and so forth, to propose your idea, present it, and showcase it to them to see if there's an opportunity for you to build it. So Switzerland is quite unique that way. I haven't seen that much in other countries. Perhaps in the US and UK, they have something similar, if my memory serves me right. So that's what I would recommend. Leverage what you have in your life ecosystem, your resources, your contacts, what you studied, to come up with an idea, brainstorm with others, develop it, and then eventually develop a business plan, a business case, um, and approach investors with it.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. And I remember, I'm also a founder like yourself. I was in my university back in 2004, 5. Um, the PayPal was recently launched in our country, and it was a big thing because not many people knew about it. I didn't have a personal computer at that time. I used to go to my university lab, and I used to work there with Unix operating system. What I did is I started commenting on different WordPress websites in US that if they require a contact us form, or in the different forums that they required contact us form. And what I did is I created a WordPress plugin, which basically lets you install it, and then using the PHP function sends an email to you if somebody fills that form. Obviously, you cannot stop spamming, and then there was a lot of problems, but it was just like a MVP at that time. And people started responding me because I was a student. I charged them $5, and $5 in 2004 wasn't too much money, but I think it was around $20 equal to today's money, I guess.
Yeah.
And people started negotiating with me, and I was like, okay, they don't want to pay $5, but they're at least negotiating with me. And some people paid me
Right.
$3, some people paid me $2. But for me, it was just like simple copy paste the same code every single
Yes.
time,
Yeah.
and creating some value for them. And long story short, I created. So my dad used to send me a monthly, money for my hostel fee, for food, for coaching, and everything. There was
Yeah.
multiple months where I didn't needed that money. Although I didn't say to my dad that don't send it to me, I still kept that money. But I
Okay.
bought a lot of things for myself. Like I got my first phone with that money. I got like cool shoes and things like that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't require you to be experienced, or working in commercial environment or settings to figure out if there's a problem you can solve. And I agree that nowadays a lot of universities and incubator programs are there. So I still
Yes.
remember when I was studying in Oxford, there was lots of incubator programs and hackathons happening every now and then. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty cool. Great
Yeah.
stuff. So let's
Mhm.
move on to the next part then. How do you how do you personally distinguish between a good idea and a commercially viable one? Because let's say my idea for creating a contact us form was good because I was making good money, but that wasn't a commercially viable one because I couldn't have scaled it, right?
Scale
And
it.
being a
Yeah.
founder in industry with multiple exit yourself, you might have some kind of formula for it.
Well, I kind of do with my recent project. So I trade Forex professionally, and in my trading experience, I rely extensively on economic calendars, which provide fundamental economic and financial data points on the results for different countries, such as GDP results, job results, interest rate decisions, and so forth. And I just stumbled upon the fact that my trading was not as successful as I wanted it to be because a lot of the economic calendars are online that are freely available are not aligned. So one calendar may give you one data point, but another calendar will give you a different data point. So it was very hard for me to gauge and make educated decisions about my trading. So I think what I'm trying to say is sometimes you are involved in certain activities in your work and your day to day life, and you may find an opportunity for something that could be an idea. So the idea I developed was, and this is the project I launched for my company. Matterhorn Labs is a website called EconoCal that allows users to compare and contrast all of these economic calendars online, save them to a custom calendar, and also engage with community members to discuss the different data points. This is an enabler for me in my day to day trading. So yes, on the one hand, I did discover this by chance, let's say, because of something I was currently involved in. I saw an opportunity for myself that I needed and an opportunity for others. So, how did it scale commercially is that I did enough market research, and which is the third point that I mentioned to your audience at the very beginning, to identify whether such a competitor exists in the market or if anybody else is doing it. Now, all these other economic calendars are free. They're ad based, uh, which is a huge challenge for me because mine is subscription based at 3 francs a month. But I add value through searching, custom calendars, community engagement. Soon I'll have AI capabilities and a mobile application. So I'm trying as much as possible to offer an edge on top of the existing economic calendars to make it commercially viable and to really scale. Because
Mm,
otherwise, I've noticed these other economic calendars. When I talk to other professional Forex traders, one person says, yeah, I use calendar A. The other one says, I use calendar B. So there is no consistency on a single playground for everybody to come together and use one reliable economic calendar. You know, like today, there's Facebook. Pretty much everybody's on it almost, you know. Uh, I can't even think of a competitor to Facebook except for probably Twitter, which comes pretty close in terms of social media. But yeah, my discovery was by chance and by opportunity, I think. You just really have to find it, and you have to offer additional services around your idea to really make it scale, you
mm.
know, because sometimes your idea can be very specific and unique, but you need to come up with additional thoughts on how you can add value around it to scale it, you know.
So Patrick, talk to me more about your calendar then. So you're saying that is it like a iOS or an Android app, or is it a desktop based app? How does this calendar works?
It is currently web based
Mm-hmm.
for the desktop.
Mm-hmm.
There is a mobile version that you can run through your browser on your smartphone. But next year, I'm planning to launch a mobile application that will be available on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, just to allow people flexibility, you know, so they can
Definitely.
actually go between devices and so forth.
Yeah.
It's currently in beta, so, you know, I'm testing it and it has a few issues here and there, but it will be out of beta January this year.
Got it.
Next year, sorry.
January 2026. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
And then just for the awareness of people who are not into trading or not into day to day, trading stuff, what kind of information it is? So, for example, let's say I'm using your calendar and I'm looking at it. Does it tell me, okay, invest into this stock because it's gonna go up in next week? Is this what it does, or?
More or less. So let's say the U.S. government, particularly the Federal Reserve, needs to make a interest rate decision on the U.S. dollar. So usually they do that every quarter, approximately. And that interest rate decision will affect people that live in the US, their ability to take out loans from banks to give out loans to other banks and other corporations, because it's the base interest rate for every loan that would go out in the country. So that interest rate decision has a direct impact to the currency. And because I trade Forex, which is currencies,
Hmm.
the euro and the USD pair currency fluctuates every time there's a decision on that interest rate. So it's very risky, of course, to put in a trade right before the decision is made because the fluctuations can be extremely fast and volatile. So typically, what you want to do is you look at what was the previous interest rate decision, what is the forecasted interest rate decision, combine that with some technical analysis on the charts, and wait until the announcement is made, and then you kind of ride the quote unquote wave if you can, if there's enough volume. So it's very different to the stock market. Stock market people make decisions to buy a stock based on its price, based on the fundamentals of the company, their financial statements and so forth, how popular they are they selling enough services and products internationally and so forth. But Forex is very unique because the fundamentals or the quote unquote financials of each country are these economic announcements. And there are currencies globally for the euro, for the Japanese yen, the British pound, and you can pick one and trade it if you want, or even invest in it for the long term. So that's kind of how it works approximately.
Got it. Got it. So it's more
Yeah.
about currency then. Any particular
Yeah.
platform you use to trade currency?
Yeah, so TradingView is my go-to application for charting and for fundamental analysis of currencies. And then, of course, in terms of the actual trading platform I use to execute a trade, it's MetaTrader, which pretty much all Forex traders use out there on the market.
Got it. Got it. Okay, great. So let's say a founder came up with the idea. They figure out like what is the TAM SAM, and they want to go forward with it. We reach to the next stage where they need to come up with a business plan. I have done this lean startup course in the past, and quite a lot of entrepreneurs or founders actually advise not to bother ourselves by indulging into creating a business plan or like a
Yeah.
10 slide deck long pitching advertisement deck or something like that. Why do you think that having a business plan is crucial? And the next part of the question is, how do somebody who have no idea how to run a business should approach to build a business
Yeah,
plan?
of course. Okay, so the why. Why is it important? Probably two or three reasons come to my mind. Number one is it helps, uh, uh, particularly for you to convince yourself, if you have something on paper, that your idea is viable. So the reason I say that is you may have a brilliant idea. Maybe you came up with PayPal and PayPal doesn't exist
Mm,
yet. But you have to be able to articulate it on paper, whether it's in slide format or a Word document, whatever it may be, to clearly state, an executive summary. How do you plan to develop the product or service? What are you going to do for employment and resources? What resources do you need? Do you need people, tools, technology, and so forth? What do you need as upfront capital investment? So there's a slew of topics and chapters in a business plan. But one of the things I learned in my journey of writing three of them is number one, when you read it, it should be able to convince you that you're on the right path. Because if you're not convinced, you're not going to be able to convince others, especially investors, to invest in your company. And then number two is to have another person read it. Could be a friend, family member, somebody you trust. But having there's this concept in the workplace, since I work in tech, called the four eyes principle. So you have two people looking at something at the same time to make educated decisions on where something should go, whether it's correctly done or not. So if you have that second person that reads through it, if they read through it and they're convinced, you're getting even closer to be able to convince investors that you need the money to invest in your company, because finding investors is very challenging. They need to really understand. You can be a great speaker and maybe you could talk about your idea and sell them on it. But if you don't have it on paper and you can't convince yourself and at least one other party, you're going to have a huge undertaking ahead of you to convince investors, because investors I've worked with at least are very meticulous. They ask very pointed and challenging questions. I mean, a lot of people have seen the show on TV with people showing up, the reality TV shows presenting their ideas, and you got 4 or 5 investors. They're sharks, these people. So, yeah, I think that would be my answer to the why. And then I think the second point, which you mentioned regarding the business plan, is yes, how do you start if you have no business experience? It's not that hard. In today's world, with our ability to access the internet, AI tools, generative AI and ChatGPT and so forth, you can very simply start querying it, writing prompts saying, how do I write a business plan? Give me a list of all the chapters. There are multiple websites out there to help you write a business plan with AI capabilities. I've used them personally. I think there's one here in Switzerland that's very popular called businessplanner.ch.
Hmm.
Uh, and I've used that personally for my recent project. And every quarter, I have a habit to go back to my business plan and read it again and optimize it. Because I'm a strong believer in one of the Japanese ways of working, which is continuous improvement. Through lean manufacturing developed by Toyota, is to always go back and see what you can do to continuously improve things. So I spend a lot of time to go through my business plan, read it again. Does it still convince me? Does it still convince others? And if not, I tweak and optimize it to strengthen the foundation for my company so I can continue to scale.
Interesting. And if you stumble upon or if you, from an investor's perspective, then do you think they're more inclined towards putting their money on the table when they know that you have experience in the industry, or they're more motivated with your passion towards the problem you're solving? Because ultimately, putting a business plan together helps you in different aspects of your business. For example, it could actually give you a leverage or the startup founders who don't have a business plan, and you're both going for the investment pitch, and then suddenly you have it ready. So it gives that impression to the investor that, okay, these people are thinking something seriously. That's why they have things in writing. They know where they are going to invest the money, etc., etc. But the other people, they're also solving a real world problem, but they don't have that kind of expertise. So my money is more safer this side of the wall. Uh, do you think this is how the investors think, or it is totally irrelevant?
I think that is how they think. They actually, the ideal scenario is a combination of both, because the experience and knowledge you come to the table with gives you the ability to launch successfully and strongly. Your passion gives you the energy to last for a long time to make it successful. Take
Mm,
Steve Jobs, for example. Incredible passion. I mean, he absolutely loved his products and services, and he invested time and energy. He actually, I read one of Walter Isaacson's book about him, and there were stories about him going to customer service centers and taking calls with actual customers, and answering the phone and talking to them about their problems and trying to diagnose it. There was even another story of in his house how at one point they wanted to buy a washer and dryer, and it took them months to decide because he's very meticulous. He's looking for that perfect washing machine and dryer, and eventually they settled on Bosch. Um, but passion will really give you the energy to make things really sustain for the long term. So you do need a combination of both. Now, if you don't have both, and let's say you just go in with passion and energy to an investor, I think that would be enough for them to bite, because investors have been through the journey of a, a challenging startup to a company to get it off the ground. That happens. I've seen startups go through that journey. And in fact, there's a psychological phases that people go through um, that is actually documented, and there's books written about this, which is called the Tuckman group phases of thinking. And you
mm,
basically go through forming, storming, norming, and performing. So you form the company, you go through a storming phase where everything may be very chaotic.
mm,
Eventually, you stabilize in a norming phase, and then you end up in a performing phase where you're highly optimal.
mm,
So, yes, you can just come with passion and succeed. It's possible. Passion will give you enough energy to stay up late at night, and get the job done. On the other hand, if you don't have the passion and just have the education and experience, I would say that's a no-go, because
mm.
you still need passion to make things successful. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. And that wraps up our second section, which is the business plan. So let's move on to the marketing and market research part, then, which you mentioned initially. You have already built an app, which is a calendar for your fellow currency traders. You said that you're working on iOS and Android apps, so you are trying to kind of make it easier for user to have access to it, so different distribution channel. Do you think it's sufficient? And I'm asking this because I'm looking at it from a founder's perspective. Ultimately, what you want to achieve is to have this application in as many hands as possible and potentially at some point monetize it, or you're already monetizing it, I believe, right?
Mhm.
So you want to convert it into a business. In order to convert it into a business, either you have to play a numbers game, a volume game, or you have to play a quality game where you charge high ticket, right? So you need to decide it one way or another. What are you going to do next? And what are your suggestions for the new founders coming up to actually achieve the same kind of growth from a marketing perspective?
Yeah. So two components there is the market research and the marketing. So we'll start with the market research. So I had the advantage of being a Forex trader for several years and really understanding the landscape of economic calendars and all the tools available online to be a successful Forex trader. Um, so I really understood the marketplace. I knew who's who, who's what do they do, for what reason, and so forth. And I saw the opportunity to build my service. So market research is extremely critical. You really need to understand who your audience is, who are your potential customers, what is your unique selling point. Um, because without that information, which is a key component to your business plan, I highly doubt that anybody can be very successful in their company that they start up. You need to know your customers at the end of the day, how they think, what they do, what do they need. So I discovered through my experience in my forex trading that I needed this personally, and then I conducted some market research and investigation, let's say, by going to the forums. I used community forums to ask people and other traders if something like this was available to you, would you use it? I didn't give out a name or any information that may compromise my intellectual property. But I gave them a hypothetical scenario and I read through the comments. And the comments basically told me that, yes, I do have a viable idea here that could be successful. So that's the market research part. You need to
Mm.
do some grassroots activity if you can't invest money in it initially. Look at community forums, look at Reddit, ask AI, do some research through AI, and really understand whether other people that could be potential customers would really use your product or service. So that's one point. Then the marketing. So the marketing is tricky because, as we all know, social media marketing can be quite expensive. The one CEO that I mentioned in the UK who now has a multi-million dollar company, his company is called Pipdex. And what they do is they make these cards, these, I think, like 2x4 cards approximately, with information on how to be a good decision
Storyteller.
maker or storyteller. You may
Yeah.
have heard of them,
I've
Pipdex. Yeah.
actually have them in my bedroom. So
Okay. They're amazing,
yeah.
right? I saw the ad on Facebook. I'm like, this is a brilliant idea. So right away, Black Friday
Mm.
sale came, boom, I got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to attend a two-way exchange with their CEO and their CTO at a webinar. And they basically gave their audience a bottom line story about how much they invested in social media and how they were able to achieve to be a multi-million dollar company now. And there were a lot of learnings, and the upfront investment can be quite significant and a lot to digest for a founder.
Mm.
Because Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, they charge quite a lot of money. You would be surprised. And the traction and the results on that investment can often be quite low if you don't target the right audience initially.
Mm.
So the reason I say that is because with my service with EconoCal, I had to do some market research to find out what are my top 3 countries where my audience may exist. And believe it or not, third one in the list. Second is India. First is the US. Third happens to be Nigeria for Forex traders.
Mm.
I was shocked. I'm like, okay, so I need to target the Nigerian audience as a starting point because US is a bit too big. Big population, not guaranteed that the results of my social media marketing would work out. So targeted Nigeria, put out some advertising, did a YouTube video, and in the process of kicking that off. Yeah, so to summarize, market research, understand your audience and your customers. Can you actually sell to them? And number 2 is the marketing. Online marketing these days is absolutely crucial. Uh, you don't see much ads in the street these days like you used to before the internet became a big thing. But yeah, that would be the answer
I
to that
I
question.
couldn't agree more with you on the marketing part because we recently launched an iOS app called Card Manager. It's basically a simple app where you can manage your loyalty cards. Maybe I might be able to actually show you.
Mhm.
So it looks like this. It's a simple app where you can add all of your
Okay,
loyalty cards, like Waitrose, things like that. You must have loyalty
great.
cards in Switzerland
Yes,
also, right?
yes.
When I looked into the TAM, I found out that the biggest market is in US. But the
Mhm.
problem is the loyalty card market is so saturated that in order to get even one click on Facebook or Google keyword research, Google advertisement AdWords
Yeah,
was around $8 per click. And I was like,
yeah.
okay, That's the issue. So I looked into different application. There was around 200 something application on the similar market, right? And every single application was focused mostly in one particular country. For example, there's 15 to 20 application for UK. There are some for European countries like France, Italy, uh, Ireland, and some for US. None of the apps were for Russia. None of the apps
Mm.
for Lithuania. None of the apps for India. None of the apps for Brazil. And these countries have a lot of people who use quite a lot of loyalty cards for different use cases. And then I thought, okay, I literally did a small update on the onboarding of my application where I asked people to choose your country. And I listed all the top 100 countries in the world, right? With most of the English speaking audience. And what I did is I asked ChatGPT, so it was one prompt for each country. What are the top um, loyalty cards in this country, and what is the background color for each loyalty card, the hex code. So
Yeah.
ChatGPT provided that to me, and I imported that CSV into my database. So suddenly, the moment you select your country on the app, it actually shows you all the loyalty cards in your country. So if you're a mother, you're living in India or Brazil, and your son is living in UK, you now can use the same application
Mhm.
because it's
Okay.
in the same. Then what I did is I contacted few marketers from Fiverr to market this app only in Russia. And the reason I did that is that no application on the App Store was doing so people do barcodes, people do QR codes, but nobody was doing as that code, which is actually a code which they use in Russia still. I was like, okay, technologically, I would be able to pull that off in few days, and I did. And now the app has barcode, QR code, PDF 412, and S tag. Launched it for first 3-4 months. I had 1 star negative reviews, and suddenly, once I hired these marketing guys, because in Russia they cannot access the social media as we can do here,
Yeah.
it reached to 10,000 downloads within like a month.
Wow.
No
Amazing.
social media. They just advertised it into their forums or local community. And what I did is I made it super easy for wives, husbands, daughters, son, mother's father to share their loyalty cards with their loved ones. You click a
Yeah.
button, and all of your 20 loyalty cards will be shared with your wife, your husband. So they don't have to recreate it into the app, right?
Yeah.
And then I created a shopping list where they can create shopping lists, which they can share with their loved one. So they got a viral loop. And
Yeah.
suddenly, you wouldn't believe, this is October. We launched it 3 months back, and we already have 50,000 downloads. People are
Amazing.
reaching out to us to advertise on the application because now we have a lot of data around which country these people are using this app from.
Yeah.
And it's free, so people don't think twice to
Yeah.
before using it, right? This was an amazing experience, and what you shared is targeting a very small user base is sometimes really good because everybody who
Yes.
is using it in Russia is now sharing it with their partners or family members in US, in
Yeah.
Europe, and everything. Right now, my top country is Italy,
Mhm.
USA, and then England and Ireland, all these comes. So I
Okay.
actually launched that advertisement for Russia, but the top download countries is not even Russia, it's actually Europe.
Amazing. That's
Yeah,
a brilliant story. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that
So,
really hits it on the nail with targeting the right audience up front.
indeed, indeed. So thank you very much, Patrick, for sharing that. Now, moving on towards the last part of our interview, we have got 6 quickfire questions for you.
Sure.
At any point, if you think that you will not be able to answer, just give me a skip and then I can move into the next question. But I think you'll be okay with all of them. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. You ready for it?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Great stuff. Number one, what are the top 3 strategies to generate more traction for your product or service in 2025?
Top three would be leveraging social media, leveraging grassroots movements like community forums that are free. And third would be word of mouth, family and friends.
The viral sharing
Yeah.
instance. Yeah.
Yeah.
What book would you recommend to our audience and why?
Atomic Habits. Read it
Mm,
recently. The reason why is it really makes you step back, look at your physical environment around you, how to adjust it, and how to do things differently so you can leverage more healthy habits in life that are consistent and take you towards a path of success. So it's a must read, Atomic Habits.
thank you. What What's one attribute or characteristic in your mind of a successful founder?
Grit, I would say.
Mm,
You
yeah,
just need to have your skin in the game. If you don't have your skin in the game and you don't have that term grit, then I would have my doubts about any founder and CEO. Yeah.
definitely, definitely. What's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
Personal productivity tool would definitely be um, Apple's Freeform tool that recently came out on their OS, because it allows me to brainstorm ideas on a digital medium. But when I can't do that, I actually have a big whiteboard behind me that I use.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that,
And I can see that you also have this River FM mug. Is that River FM mug or?
well, this is a virtual background, but I think it is a River
Okay.
FM mug. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Um, what's a new or a crazy business idea you would love to pursue if you had time?
So I had one recently that's quite interesting, but I don't think I'll have the time to do it or whether it would really be successful. Is here in Switzerland, it's a common thing for people to put stuff on the sidewalk in a box and write down the word in German gratis or in French gratuit, which means free. So people walking by or other neighbors can take it for free. So if you have any dishes, any cups, any electric appliances, so forth, you can put it out on the street and someone will take it. My thinking was to have an application where you could take a photograph of that, put the geolocation, post it in the app, and then people in the neighborhood would get notified about it who have the app as well, so they can more easily access it. So it was a good idea, ran it by a few people. They said, it's not bad, but this stuff on the street goes pretty quick anyway, so I don't think people will use it. So, yeah, if I had more time and energy, I'd probably do that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, small things sometimes come big results, right? Big impacts. So
Yes.
why not? What's an interesting or fun fact about you that most people don't know?
Well, I think most people don't know that I'm very calm, cool, collected, and not emotionally very active or heated when things get very challenging in life. I think it takes time for people to realize that about me. People, when they first meet me, they think, okay, well, this is another guy in the same business. I've worked with similar people before. I'm expecting A, B, and C from this person. And after a few days, weeks, or a month, they start to realize, wow, Patrick can really handle pressure quite well. He doesn't get emotionally flustered. So one day, one person at work, and this was the first person that told me this, she looked at me and said, you know what, Patrick, you're very calm, cool, and collected, and I appreciate that about you. So, yes.
Great stuff. Well, I think we have finished all of our questions now. Patrick, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story, unpacking last years of building this business and some of the ups and downs. People want to check out, people want to get in touch with you. What's the best way to do it?
The best way is to go to my website at patrickreyes.com.
Hmm.
All my social media is there, my history, my blog, starting point for everything.
Awesome. Awesome. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and the impactful work you're doing. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Founders Podcast.
Likewise, thank you for your time, and it was a great pleasure as well.